Hello, welcome to Infinite Prattle, and on today's episode, I talk about relearning things you thought you already knew about yourself, and just about trying harder maybe, and listening to advice. I'll try and cover all those subjects. Whether I will or not, who knows? Stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to
Infinite Prattle!
Unscripted, unedited prattle on everything. Hosted by me, Stephen. Listen, like, share and subscribe and enjoy the
show. Welcome back to another, hopefully, great episode of Infinite Prattle. Thank you for joining me. If it's your first time, check out the video version of the podcast over on YouTube if you're listening on audio. And if you're listening on YouTube, there is an audio-only version on YouTube and wherever you find podcasts. Today's hat is parental advisory, explicit content. A Shein special. It's actually not bad, to be fair. Not as breathable as would like, that's the only thing. Good old man-made fibres and all that. So basically, I've had another week of training. Well, one day of training last week for my role. And it was a bit of a revelation, if I'm honest with you. And I think that revelation could really help this podcast. Because podcasts are all about sound. They're now about visuals, because I'm now filming them. And they're about how I get a message across. If I ever manage to get a message across. Because let's face it, the whole idea of the podcast is that I prattle on about something that I don't sometimes even know what I'm going to say. But I would like that content to be somewhat coherent. So you might notice from now on that I'm taking extra care to kind of think about what I'm saying, try and slow the pace down. And that's not to change me, that's to make it better for the user experience. And that comes out of the training that I had this week. So I've never really been scared of standing in front of people and talking. And I never really am out of anything to say. So it's kind of a good combination, if that's managed correctly, I suppose. So the course I was on this week was to do with all things communication, chairing meetings, how you come across, and basically just telling the story of what information you're trying to get across to someone and understanding what they want out of the conversation or meeting or conference or, talk. And it was really enlightening that even though I know a lot about the thing I know about at work, which is railway operations, sometimes it all gets a bit clouded in your brain. And that leads to, let's say, my brain working faster than my mouth, or my mouth working faster than my brain. And that doesn't lead to clarity. And I wanted more clarity at work, want to get my message across to people. I'm more believable, maybe. More, what's the word? I'm trying to think of the word. More concise, and that gives people more confidence in me and what I'm saying. Kind of, my statement would carry more weight, maybe. And I don't think it's that people don't believe what I'm saying. Sometimes maybe my point gets lost in the myriad of words that I use. And I think sometimes that happens in this podcast. And the fact that I talk a lot and my brain goes off on a tangent quite a lot, which I don't want to lose. I don't mind the tangents, but I also don't want to say 4 million words and then lose the thread I was on in the first place. I don't want to lose that loose end. So the communications course I was on this week was by far one of the best courses I've ever been on. And I won't embarrass the people that did the course. I won't promote them or anything like that. If the chap listens to this podcast and hears it, feel free to comment, Hugo. I'm earning. So basically the communications course was basically about getting up in front of someone, thinking about what you're going to say, which is difficult for this podcast, I must admit, because 98% is done completely on the fly, sometimes with notes, and it's rarely scripted. Well, it's never scripted, but sometimes there's parts that I've thought about more than others. And the whole idea of that communications course was basically think about what your audience wants to listen to, pick out them points, make it interesting, change the tone of your voice, change the volume of your voice, use hand gestures if you're talking, open postures, and don't be afraid to pause. Don't be afraid to slow down your speech, and don't go. Silence is good. Use words like and, however, but. It's really hard to do. But amazingly, I just in a short few hours of this coaching, I think I went from thinking I was pretty good at the start of the course to realizing I'm not as good as I thought. But having known my failings probably anyway, and like a lot of things in life, it just takes someone to point something out to you. So I knew I was confident, didn't really lack the confidence, but knew I was a rambler. Knew that why use one word when you can use 10, and that's how I am. But I am very knowledgeable. And as much as I want to make it fun for the audience, sometimes I focus on maybe being a bit too blasé, making it a bit too much fun. And one of the first things we had to do was we had to pick a subject and basically give a little talk about it. So we had to start sat down, then we were told to stand at a certain point. And the first thing I said was, I'm going to talk to you about a really dry subject. So basically told the audience straight away, this is really boring. So probably would get a laugh in a room full of railway workers because they would know the subject, but it's still not probably very good for a wider audience that would just think, hang on, they're going to talk about something really boring. Why am I listening to this? So, and I suppose I know that when I point it out, but I'm more of the sort of thing, well, does that really matter because I'm going to have to do this? And I think that's the problem. You have to do it, but you don't have to do it in a certain way. And keeping the speech to about 120 words a minute. So my arm gestures were quite all over the place. And from that, the trainer thought that my speech would be a lot faster than it was. But weirdly enough, my speech was faster than it should have been, but slower than he thought because of the arm gestures. So going forward, we just looked at different techniques. Basically, just slowing down is the biggest one. And just some notes, some planning, and just thinking about what the audience are after. What do you want to say and what do you want them to take away? And I suppose when you think about it, when you put yourself in the shoes of an audience, like I probably should do that a lot more with you guys. I should probably sit down and think 3 seconds before I start filming, what do I want my audience to take away today? And generally it's just, I just want you to have a good time. I just want you to listen to something that you may find interesting and might give you food for thought or that you can relate to. And I think I generally tick them boxes, hopefully, because most people can relate to other people. But should I be a bit more deep than that, and I probably should be trying to put a message across. So the episodes where I am maybe trying to say something. And it makes you think, because all the times that I present at work and make comments on things, I could have been doing this. And to my view, maybe was to a degree. But it just changes the whole dynamic when you just change these few things in the way you talk. You come across more confident, more knowledgeable. You don't have to be stiff as a board. You can still be really animated and impactful, and you can be funny. But it's at a more sedate pace. It's not as hard for the listener. It's not as hard on the eyes. And a lot of stuff that we do is visual. That's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to start a video podcast. One, because it gave me something to look at. So I felt like I was making engagement with an audience. But it also gave me something to kind of play to. And that's really difficult when you're talking down a microphone And I think that kind of makes you speed up as well, because you're just barreling out down a microphone, recorded it, got it in the bag. But I think maybe doing the video podcast, it has made me slow down. If it hasn't, let me know, because you don't know you're doing it. Because when I was asked, how did that feel to you? How did your speech feel? And I said it felt comfortable. And instantly I was told it was too quick. And it feels comfortable because that's what I'm used to. So one of the tips was slow down to the point it feels mildly uncomfortable. Which I think is good advice. And that's what I'm trying to do. So hopefully you're hearing a difference. Maybe you don't like it. Maybe it's weird. Maybe it's calm, Steve. It's strange. Maybe you like the erratic 140 word a minute steam train that I am. Apparently 120 words a minute is like dead on for kind of speech and what we should be aiming for. I think in day-to-day chatter, when you're relaxed with someone, it speeds up. And probably when you're excited, it does as well. And I think the whole idea of the session was, when you public speak or when you're doing a presentation, your nerves kick in, you're a bit anxious maybe, you're scared of making a mistake, and a lot of people just barrel through it because they just want to get out of the public eye. They don't want to be in front of people. And I get that. I completely get that. As for all my confidence of standing in front of people, and I've literally done last-minute presentations. I've literally gone to a meeting. We've been going through the agenda. And then my name's come up on the board as having a spot. I think it was the first spot. And I was like, hang on. And they were like, oh, yeah, we haven't told you. Can you just do a chat about this? Okay. So I've been thrown in the deep end like that. And come out okay. And it's never as bad as you feel, I think. But these tips that I was given over that day were really good. So slowing down is a huge one. And it automatically kind of makes you pick your words a lot more clearly. You can use words that you didn't think you were going to use, and it enables you to pause a lot easier. So I'm finding it better already for just getting my brain in order and just slowing everything down. Pauses. Don't use and and all them things to fill in sentences. I've done it a few times already on this podcast. And I've probably done it dozens and dozens and hundreds of times through the hours of podcasts that I've uploaded. And it's okay to do that to a degree. But it doesn't really convey a confidence, doesn't really make you seem like you know what you're talking about. And I think for my efforts on this podcast, it's probably okay, because I'm not really conveying anything that's life and death. It's not like I'm at work and I'm having to speak and give feedback on something that is going to be built or designed, or is being built and designed, or talking about some safety related items. So it's probably not as critical on this podcast, but I still want to kind of bring some of this learning into the fold a little bit, because I think it's really beneficial. And I think it'll make the podcast better. I hope it will. Again, let me know what you think about that. So yeah, the day was really kind of fluid. We had to start off and basically write everything down we thought was wrong with us. Well, not wrong with us, what our fears and what we wanted to improve. Mine was definitely structure of things. Brain running at a million miles an hour, mouth running at a million miles an hour, and I'm not syncing up really. So brain fast, mouth fast. No, hang on, can't even get that right. Brain fast, mouth slow, brain fast. Is that right? Is that the same? Oh my god, my brain has just died. So basically, if I'm talking too quick, my brain can't keep up, and if my brain's really quick, my mouth can't keep up. So everything just gets jargon. I think that was the right way around. I might have said it right the first time, I don't even know. So one of the best things that I think I got out of the day was just writing them things down and acknowledging them. And from that point on, I probably could have improved myself to a degree. But there's nothing better than someone that's an expert in their field just simplifying something for you in the most basic terms, or watching yourself. So what we did One of the first things after the little presentation thing was recorded, and that's what the feedback was given on. And it was all about, hand movements, keeping your arms up. You can't really see my elbows in this video, but keeping your arms up, engaging, changing the tone of your voice, changing the volume of your voice, bring it down a little bit, then bring it back up again. So yeah, a lot of stuff like that. Really, just really making sure that you're using dynamics, headlines, and telling a story with the next thing. So what we did, we were very much in the mindset of the company. So I have to tell you this information. This is how I'm going to tell it. Lots of facts, lots of figures, technical details. So another thing we were told is think about the audience and channel it to, you want to grab their attention. So kind of like what YouTube does in social media. So a tagline, start a story, and get them hooked. So you need a hook. And that's where you can use the stats. So mine was the importance of railway interlocking, which is a boring subject if you don't work on the railway. It's a complex subject if you don't work on the railway. So my few minutes was just to try and explain why railway interlocking, what it is, and why it is so important within the rail industry. And I just went kind of straight into it, basically told everyone it was a boring subject. Went straight into it, kind of explained what it was, and did an alright job. Got good reasonable feedback. I was told I was good with my hands, good stood up, reasonably good eye contact looking around the room. But it was a little bit too quick, and we all did the similar thing where we were like in the mindset of the company, and this is what we must produce, and this is what we must deliver, and that's boring. Basically, it's boring. So we did some other techniques. We chatted about stuff. We talked about other personalities, the personality of the person you're delivering to, your own personality, and how your own brain works. All while thinking about the slowing down, the structure of everything. And at the end of the day, we redid the same speech. Well, we were allowed to write another one, but we all pretty much did the same one. And I chose to do the interlocking thing again. So I wanted a hook. So I chose an accident that was related to interlocking failure, and the deaths that came from that, and said, these many deaths, this many injured. This is why the railway interlocking is so serious, so important. And it actually helped me. I didn't script anything, made a couple of notes, didn't look at them in the first one, didn't look at them in the second one. But I remembered my notes because I was slower, because I was more precise. It enabled my brain to think, this is what you want to talk about next. And it flowed better. And it was really incredible because with a few small conversations during the day, a small bit of review, a small bit of reflection, you wouldn't have told the difference. Like, you wouldn't have believed the difference between my first delivery and my second delivery. And I think I'm quite a good person I think I'm quite a good person in that area of delivering things and talking to people and keeping people's attention. So hopefully I'm like an expert at it now. So yeah, I just really enjoyed the course. It's up there with the previous one I enjoyed immensely, which was a few years ago when I did like a management course and went into it with really clouded judgment and didn't really want to be there, and that turned out to be the best course that I'd ever been on. Partly because of mostly because of the trainer, and the same for this week. Really, the communications course trainer was an outstanding chap, really easy to talk to, funnily enough, an excellent communicator, and it was just super fun, and I can use that in everyday life. I can use it in every part of my life. I can now mentally think about what I'm saying. I can slow myself down, try and get my message across, be more impactful, and not frustrate myself after the fact of, this is what I actually wanted to say, and I didn't get to say it. So if you ever get to go on a communications course, and the guy is called Hugo, you know you're in for a good time. Yeah, it was just really good. And Hugo, if you are watching this and you want to leave a comment of your link to your business, feel free. I don't mind. I just didn't want to seem like I was promoting anything within this podcast. Yeah, really good times. That was the middle of the week for me. It was a long day because I had to travel down to Milton Keynes. Milton Keynes! I can't say Milton Keynes without saying that in that way after the Bill Bailey, was it Prattle that you did it in? I can't do it. It's just a thing I have to do. And it's ridiculous. Anyway, that's a weird thing to end on. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you give us a like, that'd be ace. If you give us a subscribe, that'd be acer. If that's even a word, it is now. Sod it, who cares? Thank you very much for listening. Take care of yourselves. And remember to keep on prattling.
Thanks for listening to Infinite Prattle with your host, Stephen. Follow me on social networks at Infinite Prattle. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks very much.